You open a bag of flour or rice or cereal, and for 1 second everything looks normal. Then the top layer moves wrong. Not crawling, not alive in an obvious way, just connected. A few pale crumbs are stuck together. A thin white thread stretches from one side of the package to the other. It looks like dust. It looks like lint. It looks like the kind of tiny spider web you would wipe out of a cabinet corner without thinking. So you pinch the bag closed. You look at the shelf. You reach for a paper towel. Maybe you reach for the spray bottle, because the word web makes your brain jump straight to spiders. Before you brush it away, stop, because if that web is inside your pantry, the spider may not be the story. Something may already be inside your food. And the worst part is not the thread you can see. It is what that thread means about everything around it. Most people read a tiny web in the kitchen as a cleaning problem, a forgotten corner, a lazy spider, a little dust collecting where the cabinet door does not quite close. And honestly, that reaction makes sense. A pantry is supposed to be still, dry, sealed, safe. It is where food waits quietly until you need it. So when you see something stretched between grains or clinging to the inside fold of a cereal bag, your first instinct is to erase it, wipe it, spray the corner, throw one box away and leave the rest. But the pantry does not always show you the animal first. Sometimes it shows you the signature. That web may be silk, not from a spider waiting in the corner, but from a larva moving through stored food in the dark. A tiny caterpillar-like stage of a pantry moth, often the Indian meal moth, feeding where you almost never look closely. Inside flour, cereal, grains, nuts, dried fruit, pet food, birdseed, or an old bag pushed to the back of the shelf. It does not need to look dramatic. It does not need to look like a swarm. It can begin as one strange clump, one little thread, one package that looks slightly wrong when the light hits it. Here is the part that makes people check every box. By the time you notice the web, the pantry moth story may already be past its quiet beginning. Adult moths are the part people recognize. Small, fluttering insects near a cabinet door. Something that zigzags near the kitchen light. Something you clap between your hands and forget about. But the adult moth is not the one eating your food. The real damage is done by the larvae. They are small, pale, easy to miss, and shaped like tiny worms with a darker head. They move through dry food the way something moves through a hidden tunnel. They feed. They crawl. And as they crawl, they can leave behind fine silken threads that make grains, crumbs, powder, and broken pieces stick together. That is why the food can look webbed. Not because a spider chose your cereal as a home, because something was living in the cereal. Let that settle for a moment. The web is not decoration. It is not just a dusty accident. It can be a trail left by an animal that was small enough to stay invisible until the food itself began to show evidence. And that is where this becomes uncomfortable, because the cabinet can look clean while the source is still active. A pantry moth infestation does not always announce itself from the outside. The shelf can be wiped. The door can be closed. The labels can face forward neatly. But behind that order, one forgotten bag of flour, one box of cereal, one torn package of rice, one container of birdseed, or dry pet food can become the hidden center. Inside that package, eggs can hatch into larvae. The larvae feed on the dry food. They grow. They drag silk behind them. They make clumps. They leave cast skins and tiny waste particles. Then, when they are ready, some may crawl away from the food source and look for a protected crack, seam, lid edge, shelf peg hole, or upper cabinet corner where they can transform. That means the thing you notice on the shelf may not be where the story started. The pantry is quiet because most of the movement is happening where you cannot see it. Behind cardboard, under a folded plastic liner, inside a crease, along the glued seam of a box, in the dark gap between a bag and the wall of the cabinet. The real action is happening where you cannot see it. That is why spraying the visible corner can feel satisfying and still miss the point. You are attacking the place where you saw the sign, not the place where the life cycle is being fed. A spider web in a corner usually points to the spider's hunting space. A pantry moth web inside food points to the food itself. That difference matters, because if you simply wipe away the thread and leave the package, you may have removed the warning while keeping the source. The pantry looks cleaner, but the problem is still eating. And the strangest thing is how ordinary the starting point can be. This is not always about a filthy kitchen. It is not proof that someone is careless. Pantry pests often arrive already connected to stored dry goods. A package can come home from a store with eggs or larvae inside or nearby. A thin bag, a cardboard box, a folded seam, or a product that sat too long can become the first quiet door. That is what makes the pantry feel so personal. You did not invite anything in. You just bought food. You placed it on a shelf. You closed the cabinet. Then, days or weeks later, the cabinet gave you a white thread. Not a scream, a whisper. One of the most unsettling signs is food that has started to clump in a way it should not. Flour with tiny strings. Cereal crumbs webbed into little mats. Rice grains held together. Nuts with fine silk caught between them. A package that smells stale or looks dusty in a strange, uneven way. At first glance, your brain wants a harmless explanation. Moisture. Old powder. Packaging fibers. A spider. But a spider does not usually weave through the middle of your oatmeal. A spider does not make cereal pieces stick together from inside the bag. A spider does not turn a bag of dry food into a little map of threads. That tiny web is a trail, and the trail is telling you that something has already crossed the food. This is the reversal most people miss. The web is not the invader. It is the evidence. The invader is smaller, quieter, and often deeper in the package than the thing you noticed first. Once you understand that, the whole pantry changes shape. That unopened box no longer feels sealed just because the cardboard is closed. That folded bag no longer feels safe just because you clipped the top. That old container of dry pet food no longer feels separate from the cereal shelf if it has been sitting nearby for months. You begin to see the pantry as a group of small rooms. Each bag is a room. Each box is a room. Each crease is a hiding place. Each forgotten corner can become a nursery. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable. A pantry moth problem can spread because people treat the first sign as isolated. They find one bad bag, throw it away, and never inspect the others. They kill one adult moth and assume the moth was the problem. They wipe one thread and believe the cabinet is fixed. But the moth on the wall is often just the visible chapter. The larvae inside food are the hidden chapter. The webbing is the sentence connecting the two. So before you spray the cabinet, find the source. Open the packages, not just the one with the obvious thread. Check nearby dry goods too. Look inside the corners of boxes. Look under the inner bags. Roll the packaging gently and watch for clumps, silk, pale larvae, shed skins, or moving specks. Check flour, cereal, rice, pasta, oats, nuts, dried fruit, chocolate, powdered mixes, spices, birdseed, and dry pet food. The old forgotten items matter most. The half-used bag. The holiday baking mix. The cereal nobody finished. The pet treats in the back. The decorative popcorn or seed packet sitting where no one thinks of it as food. If you find clear webbing, larvae, or contaminated food, do not try to rescue it with a quick wipe. Seal it. Remove it from the home. Do not leave it open in the kitchen trash, where the same life cycle can keep unfolding a few feet away. Then clean the shelf not because the shelf was morally dirty, but because the story left traces. Vacuum cracks, corners, shelf holes, and seams. Empty the vacuum contents outside if you can. Wipe the surfaces. Pay attention to the places your hand usually skips, because larvae do not choose the most convenient places for you. They choose protected ones. And then change the way the pantry holds food. Thin bags and cardboard boxes feel closed to us because they look closed. But for a tiny pantry pest, a fold, a gap, a weak seam, or a chewable edge can be enough. Thick, tight sealing containers make the pantry